Hey guys, welcome to another video. Quick discussion, well not necessarily quick, but an in detailed discussion about characters, tier list, where do they fit in, where do I think that they rank. I've added in a personal extra rank, as you can see here if you're looking, a double S tier rank, because there are some characters that I believe are above S tier, and in recent weeks have shown why they're better than some of the characters that you would typically see placed in an S tier rank. Um, as of recording, this is 1.3, and we're about halfway through 1.3, so we don't actually have Hu Tao as a playable character. She still isn't actually officially confirmed to be released as the third banner character for 1.3, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But once she is released and she's playable, we get our hands on her, and a few days worth of testing has been done, I will come back and redo this, place Hu Tao somewhere within the tier list, and give my reasons as to why she is getting the tier ranking that she gets. But for now, we're going to rank all the 4 and 5 star characters that we have playable towards us, playable for us in Genshin Impact, and give my reasoning as to why some of the characters get some of the tier rankings that they get. Just to let you know, some of the kind of requirements that I'm using here is it's C0, so every character is C0, even 4 stars. Even though 4 stars are a lot easier to obtain constellations, we're going to be basing it off of C0s, because we can't assume that everyone is going to have constellations or have a say for example a constellation uh, for Ningguang, or constellation for Jingshui, or constellation 2 Bennett. We can't just go ahead and assume that. So we're going to do everything C0, and we'll take it from there. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be basing it off of how the character performs early game, mid game, and late game, and put it all together as a whole, this character as a whole, how do they perform within Genshin Impact throughout the different stages and difficulty of the game as you're progressing through your world rank, and also how versatile they are in terms of exploration, um, fighting mobs out in the open world, so kind of open world exploration, fighting bosses, world bosses, weekly bosses, and the harder final end game content, so artifact domain farming and spiral of the abyss, as we can see how they perform in basically every scenario possible, and give them an overall ranking of where they place within Genshin. Some attributes are going to carry more weight than others, like being able to perform to a very high standard in Spiral of the Abyss compared to being able to explore efficiently. Like, I'm not gonna put them on level footing. Like, if you're an S tier explorer, but you're kind of like a C ranked Spiral of the Abyss combater, I'm not gonna give you an overall ranking of A or B, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you're S tier in Spiral but a D tier in exploration, it's very may well that you can still come out S tier. So I'm not going to put them each category on equal footing, but I'm still going to take everything into consideration. So with that said, we're just going to jump straight in, and we're just going to do in order with what we've got here or on this site. And also, if you want to use this site, you want to do your own video, you just want to have a look and kind of give your own characters your own tier ranking system, then I will put the link to this site in the description below, so you can check it out and maybe do your own tier list ranking. So we're going to start off with the main character, and I'm just going to see if they give me. No, I can't use the main character twice. What I wanted to do for the main character was I wanted to do an Anemo and a Geo ranking, because I do think that both should be placed separately. I don't think both the Geo and the Anemo versions of main character are the same ranking. But as I don't have, yeah, as I don't have a second main character here on this site, I'm just gonna do an overall ranking for the main character. So take into consideration that they can change their elemental output between Geo and Anemo. I think the Anemo main character is a lot better than the Geo. The reason why I say that is because the Geo character their elemental skill is pretty useless. It pretty much does no damage. If you spawn it on larger enemies, it tends to just disappear and not place. Needs it needs a certain amount of space to be able to place. On smaller enemies, it's not so bad because it can push them out of the way, um, or kind of just just moves them out the way. But on larger enemies, like Geo Vishaps or you know uh, bosses, open world bosses like Regis Vines and stuff, if you place the elemental skill, the little stone, I don't know, the stone pillar that the main character places, and you put it too close to them or place it on top of them, it tends to just disappear and nothing comes of it. So it's not too great. It doesn't deal no tremendous amount of damage, if any damage at all, and it's pretty much just used to either block enemies and shield you from taking damage, so you can hide behind it to recover for a second or two, recover 2 seconds worth of stamina. Um, or you can use it to plunge off of. You can quickly ascend it and then plunge off of it and do a plunging attack. But overall, it's not a great elemental skill. It really serves no purpose. However, for exploration, it's extremely handy because there are a few puzzles in Genshin where there are little plates that you need to step on to either activate a certain puzzle or activate a certain sequence for a puzzle, and you need to do two of them, but you can't. You need to stand on both of them simultaneously, or at least have both of them active at the same time to complete the puzzle. So what you can do is you can place the pillar down because it has such a short cooldown period and a long duration uptime. You can just place the pillar down on both of the plates, and they will light up, and then you will complete the puzzle. Or you can stand on one and place the stone pillar on the other plate, and it will be completed. So for exploration wise, it's extremely handy. It can also be just an extra bit of height to get you up to a higher ledge or something that you couldn't possibly reach without it. So it's handy for exploration, but in combat, no matter where you are using it in combat, it's not very handy. It's not very useful. His elemental burst is okay. It's a wide AoE of geo damage, kind of like a downgraded version to Albedo's, if I'm honest. Again, it's not tremendously great. Um, and for the Geo character, I would have given him a ranking of D. I'll be honest with you, I would have given Geo character a D. Um, but a Nemo character is gonna carry the Geo character here because with the Anemo character, you can put on the Viridescent set, which allows you to swirl and reduce enemy resistance. They have a great E that sucks in enemies towards you. Smaller enemies like Hoarders and Hilichurls, Slimes, you can bring them all towards you. You can, like I said, use the Viridescent artifact set, reduce resistance. You also got the Tornado for the elemental burst, and it's capable of clumping all enemies together and then just pushing them back, allowing you to do great damage. Because if you've afflicted them with any sort of elemental uh, status such as electro or pyro, whatever it is, you use that, clump them all up, all of their resistance has been reduced to that certain element type, and then it just allows you to go to town on them. So by no means is the Anemo character weak. I mean, it's not the best Anemo character in the game. There are a lot better Anemo characters out there, but as a whole, they've got some very very useful kits in their arsenal, and I would have given a Nemo character B. But because they've gotten a B and Geo characters gotten a D, I'm gonna give them an overall score of C. Um, Moving on to Albedo. Now, anyone that's seen any of my previous videos on Albedo and seen how I've talked about Albedo, they would know that he is the one character that has been in my team Since I have wished on him, since I pulled him and I gacha pulled Albedo, he is the only character within the whole of Genshin Impact that I've put on in my team, and since day one has never left. No matter who else I'm playing with, he has never left. I used Diluc, he's been dropped. I used Ganyu, she's been dropped. Venti, he's been dropped. Any other DPS or support character has been dropped. Bennett's been dropped. I've rotated Bennett out before. I have never, ever, 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 ever rotated Albedo out, and I absolutely love Albedo. And the reason why I love Albedo is because he's extremely cheap to build. He's low investment, low cost, and you get such high output from him. Albedo gives you such good, stable quality damage and support for your team. His elemental burst does reasonable damage, even if you don't build it well. As long as you've leveled the talent, it does reasonable damage. Anywhere in excess of 30k upwards, and I just think that his elemental skill, which allows you to do tick damage every 2 seconds, the blossoms, deal damage, AOE geo damage to enemies inside of it, and paired with the right team, like him and Fischl make a great combo because you can drop his elemental skill and use Fischl's elemental skill to send Oz out, and Oz will auto attack enemies. And while Oz is dealing, high electro damage every 2 seconds, he's also causing a blossom reaction from Albedo's elemental skill within that little radius, and Albedo will do extra damage. So my Albedo does like around 12k damage per tick, per blossom tick. He does about 12k damage, and Oz does about 5 or 6k damage. Like every second, Oz shoots like every second, so like every 2 seconds, I'm dealing anywhere of 20k upwards between the two. Um, so yeah, Albedo, he's a great support, great passive damage, and on top of that, his elemental burst also boosts elemental mastery of the entire team of about 125, I think it is. Which again, if you're running a team that uses a lot of elemental reactions, then he will be great in your team. So if you're using someone like Diluc and Jingshui, or Diluc and Ganyu, or Diluc and Chongyun, or you're using Klee and Jingshui, anything like that, Albedo is a huge asset to the team because he boosts elemental mastery. With that being said, it's hard for me to not put him in S tier, but that's only because he's a personal favorite of mine. I personally just love Albedo so much, but I know the damage numbers isn't quite there for people to accept that he's an S tier. Um, and even his survivability is great, but because I said, because the damage numbers are not quite there, and the versatility of his kit isn't quite as high as some of the other support characters, we're gonna put him in an A tier. He's great throughout all stages of the game, early to late game. No matter when you've got him, he's amazing. So we're gonna put him in A tier. We're gonna go with Amber up next. There is not really much to say about Amber. There's like a universal cry about Amber, how she needs a rework because she is just not that useful. Baron Bunny is meant to taunt enemies, and it doesn't do it very well. It's supposed to taunt, but it doesn't do very well. It doesn't do great damage. Her ult doesn't do great damage. Her ult is kind of like a very small version of Ganyu's ult. Where Ganyu summons like a blizzard storm, but it has a wide radius. And it's like MiHoYo saw that and said, you know what? We've done this wrong with Amber. The radius isn't big enough on her elemental burst. It doesn't deal quite the damage that we would like, and it's not proccing the enemies with pyro like how we would like it to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rework the character, and then give me 1 second, guys. So what they said was we're gonna rework the character, but instead of reworking the character and giving her a little buff, we're gonna rework it and make her as a whole new character and rename her Ganyu. That's basically what they did because Ganyu's elemental skill taunts enemies, and it scales off of her HP, and her elemental burst rains down ice shards, whereas Amber's rains down, a pyro firestorm. But the radius is just is so small, and she's just not very effective, not very useful. She's not good at uh, afflicting pyro on enemies. She's not very good as a DPS. She's very good for exploration. There's a lot of puzzles that requires uh, kind of like a pyro uh, contribution towards some of these puzzles, and you know she's great because she's got an arrow. She can just aim charge shots and just hit the the puzzle pieces that are needed. When and she's great for exploration, but this game isn't solely about exploration. And for whether it's early or late game, she is pretty much, I think, rendered useless in this game. So for that reason alone, this is just a straight up D tier for Amber. Here we have got Ayaka. I'm gonna put her at the end of the list here because I don't know why this site has her. But she's not a playable character, and she's not a playable character anytime soon from what we know. So we're not going to give her a rating because we don't have access to her. Barbara. So Barbara is a 4-star Hydro healer, and as great as she heals, she's one of the more potent healers in the game. She really heals. I think she's the second most potent healer behind Chi Chi. Because Chi can really stack on the heals. Chi can heal you in an instant, like from zero to hero, like from zero to max in like no time. And Barbara can almost do the same, but not just quite as quickly as Chi. So I think she's like the second most potent healer in the game. However, 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 as great as a healer she is, and as great as she is at ripping any enemies that have pyro shields, so you've got like the pyro abyss mages, you've got the little like cyst you have to pop on the pyro Registine. As great as she is at destroying those in just a few auto attacks, she doesn't really have much more of a use. She doesn't really deal great damage. She's not a fighter. She's not going to be there applying hydro often. She doesn't do it very well. She's not going to be there applying hydro. She doesn't buff the characters in any form or shape. She doesn't. It's not like Bennett where he can buff attack. So she doesn't have any other utility to her kit apart from healing, and her heals are really more effective in the early game. When you get more towards mid game, late game, she becomes very, very, very useless. She gets rendered ineffective mid to late game, and you'll find that a lot of the players that start to develop their teams as they start pulling on characters and using their primal gems, and they got a few more 4 stars and a couple more 5 stars. And as they get their world rank up and you're getting towards the level 70, 80s, and even 90s, and you're in, world rank 6, 7s, and then you finally get to 8, you're going to find that your character's survivability are much, much better. And they don't require that much heals, especially if you're very good at playing the game. If you're very effective at playing the game, you'll find that you require less and less heals. Whereas in the early game, when you get hit, you'll find that, a lot more of your health goes down in one hit. Like maybe 50% of your health can go in one hit. And you'll find that you would need heals, especially when tackling early stages of Spiral of the Abyss. If you're doing it when you're at level 20, 30, and 40, you're gonna require a healer. So early game, she's amazing, and she really does keep your team alive. But after that, when your team compositions don't really require much healing, she doesn't get used that much. Um, and she doesn't have much other utility. If she had more to her kit, like she could boost the whole team's defense by 70% with a elemental burst, or increase entire team's resistance by greatly reducing their resistance, or just something, just a extra buff to the team apart from healing, maybe she would get a better score. But because of that, I'm actually going to put her not even in a B, but a C rank. As good as her heals are, she's going to get a C rank along with main traveler. Barbara, I really don't put great pleasure in saying it, but I don't rate her that highly. Um, Beidou. Beidou wasn't a character I started using till much later in Genshin Impact. He was one of the later characters that I drew. I was lucky enough to start off with Kaching and Venti, mainly because I started at the beginning of Genshin Impact, when it released, and I spent like the first, up to like 5 days just re-rolling until I got Venti, and I managed to re-roll until I got Venti and Kaching, and that's basically what I started with my game. And because I was new to the game, I didn't really know too much on how to play and how to play it effectively and efficiently. And I thought, I got Kaching and I've got an Electro user. If I get any other Electro user, I don't need to level them up, or any other Electro DPS character, because I had Fischl as well, which I got for because Fischl was on Venti's banner, so I had Fischl, but I was using Fischl as a support character, and I was using Kaching as my main DPS, and I had Venti, and maybe weeks or months later, I might have finally drew Beidou, but I was like, I already have Electro character, I don't need any more. It's too costly on the materials, so I didn't use Beidou till much later on, and I just feel like maybe I missed a trick, because now after seeing her and using her, Beidou is actually amazing. Beidou is a very useful and reliable character. Her elemental skill is able to do great burst of damage with the counter. Her elemental burst gives you the shield that, on auto attacking sends out like electro shocks that travel through enemies. It's great for ripping through shields of the Fatui that are weak against electro. If you're ever struggling against Fatui and Spiral of the Abyss and you need an electro character, honestly just take Beidou, slap her ult. You can even switch characters if Beidou is not your main DPS character. You can switch characters and make sure you get those physical attacks out and start slapping away at the Fatui, and it will rip shields. And not only that, it reduces the damage that you take and reduces interruption, so you don't even have to worry about dodging. It's kind of like an upgraded version to like Zhongli's shield. Um, so she really allows you to really just go what I call face tank. She allows you to go face tank on enemies. And if you're running like double electro characters or someone like Kaching that can generate a lot and a ton of electro particles, mainly because she just pretty much 95% of her attacks are electro damage. Her ult is electro. You use her elemental skill, she imbues her sword with electro damage, and Kaching can just do constant electro damage, which should allow your Beidou to recharge her elemental burst quite quickly. And if you can constantly spam out her elemental burst, then you're able to just basically just have 100% uptime of just going face tank and not having to worry about dodging and iframes and just evading attacks. You could just literally just throw everything face tank and then just destroy whatever enemies come your way. And for that reason, I really love Beidou. Um, but be- but because her as a character, she doesn't deal significantly great damage, like amazing damage, like top tier damage. I can't put her in A tier, so I'm gonna have to put her B tier because half of her kit isn't quite there, but the other half really is there. But so overall she's B, but there's elements to her kit that really does shine and put her in A tier. But there's also parts of her kit which is mainly to do with her damage output, um, and how much consistent damage that she can sustain on enemies is not very high. So I'm gonna put her in B tier. And then we move to Benny Boy. Benny Boy. So, Bennett. People call him the god of support, the best support character in the game. And you know what? He's definitely the best 4-star character. He's the best 4-star character. So he's the best 4-star character overall. He's the best 4-star support character. And he's definitely one of the best support characters, period, in the game. Um, his elemental skill, it has such a short cooldown. It's like 2 or 3 seconds, and you can really spam it. You can get it off a couple of times within a couple of seconds, and it generates two particles each time, 2 or 3, and he has built correctly, high energy recharge. His elemental bursts. What's more to say? If you have Bennett, you have Bennett, and you just know. You just know what I'm talking about. The heals are magnificent. The heals are fast. Um, the attack boost he gives you whilst in his elemental burst, a little circle, is just phenomenal. The only downside to Bennett, I would say, is that the healing comes in every second. So if you are like low HP, you're in the red zone, your health is really low, and you're trying to switch to a character to be in that pool to get the healing, you can die in one shot. It's not instant healing. You have to wait like a few seconds. You have to wait about 4 seconds to get your health back up to 70%. You know, like 3 or 4 seconds. I mean, it's not a long wait, but sometimes when the enemies are just crowded in there, you can't get away from it, and you might suffer that fatal blow. As whereas Barbara in her ult, Jean with her ult, you know, they just use their ult, and the whole party just gets an instant heal. You know, quite a big chunk of health, so it prevents you from going down when you switch out characters. But that doesn't stop Bennett from holding. That doesn't hold Bennett back one iota, not one bit. And you know what? Bennett's gonna have to be our first 4 star that gets placed into S tier. He is amazing. He is a character that I use so much. A character that everyone uses so much because he's just that great of a character. And now we move on to Chongyun. Chongyun, my cryo claymore user, little ice lolly boy. Where do I put you? You know what? He's what I call an enabler, and he's a great enabler. So he enables characters, especially if they fall within the remit of a claymore or sword user, or even polearm, to be fair, because it covers all three. His elemental skill, basically, if you use elemental skill, and any polearm, claymore, or sword user that is standing within his little ice circle, it will convert their weapon into cryo damage. So you see it imbue with cryo, it will start smoking and you know, steaming, because it's giving off little cryo energy, and every hit will be cryo damage. Um, Now that allows for characters like Diluc and even potentially Hu Tao, because Hu Tao is not always going to be in her state, uh, her guide to afterlife state, which is her elemental skill. She's not always going to be in that state. There's going to be a period where she's in her cooldown and she's just got her normal polearm. And if you're inside of Chongyun's little circle, she can do a few hits to a few enemies, afflicting cryo on them, and then quickly enter her guide to afterlife state by pressing E, and then do a couple of melt reactions. The only downside is that, you know, she can't turn off the pyro damage that she's dealing, so you won't be able to stay long with inside his circle for any duration of time. But someone like Diluc, who can weave in and out of E combos and normal attacks, so you can throw in a couple of normal attacks of cryo to apply the cryo status, and then do an E attack to get a big melt reaction, and keep rinsing and repeating. And that's what I call by an enabler. He enables you to deal your own cryo damage, and it cuts out the little middleman of you having to switch to your character to deal the melt damage. You can just do all in one go. One character applies the cryo, one character applies the pyro. It's very seamless, and I think he's quite good at that. And he gets even better with constellations. I can't remember, but I think it's Constellation 2 that basically increases the attack speed when you're standing inside of his circle, which is great. Attack speed increase means more damage. It also means that you stagger the enemies quicker, because you're landing your attacks faster. You just get that greater chance of staggering the enemies. Um, so I think he's a decent, reasonable character who is a great enabler and allows, you know, for good melt comps. And for that reason, I'm gonna put him in B tier. And then now we have Diluc. So Diluc. For so long, for so long, since day one, since release, he's been the number one DPS character. He's carried so many people through the game. He's made so much content walkable, just so easy. Um, to this day, he's still the number one pyro character DPS in the game. He's more powerful than Klee. I think he's more powerful than Xiangling. There is no DPS pyro character stronger than Luke. He is right up there, top tier. His skills are amazing. It's just absolutely tailor made for for everything that he has to offer. His constellations are great, but again, we're only looking at C0. Um, I think the only thing that's a bit underwhelming with the Luke is that his elemental burst doesn't do that much damage. For a DPS character that's so great and does so much damage with his auto attacks and his elemental skill, his elemental burst really does feel underpowered. Um, but it's okay. Excuse me. Ooh, sometimes it seems like it's bedtime, even though it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, yeah, his elemental burst does feel underpowered, but it's okay because the rest of his kit has so much to offer. You don't really notice it. Um, and it's taken months to have had characters that have just recently come out that are challenging the Luke to the throne as best DPS character in the game. So there isn't really much to say about it. Early game, mid game, late game, he's amazing. Spiral of the Abyss, he's phenomenal. And if you don't know about Spiral of the Abyss, especially in the later stages, 9 to 12, Pyro characters really take a shine in. So much more so. Not as much as it was back in the day when it was just pure cryo and pyro damage was characters were boosted, so it wasn't as much, but they still dominate because there's still a lot of cryo characters. There's cryo abyss mages, there's slimes in there, there's all sorts, and yeah, pyro characters really shine in Spiral. So this is where he makes up his value in being like the best DPS character, or was the best DPS character. Is that yeah, I can put that to the test. Just throw me in Spiral and I'll show you what I can do. And he really delivers. So I'm going to put him as S tier, and I am going to try and rank these in order. So all my S tiers from left to right are going to be the better S tiers all the way down to the worst S tiers. So I think Barbara is actually better than main character. Diona. My girl Diona, another cryo user. Element of skill has a press function and a hold function. They both do the same thing, just the hold one is a bit more potent, and the shield that she spawns, that she creates, lasts longer and is stronger, can resist more attacks. Her elemental burst heals you, and by quite a bit actually. Also applies cryo to enemies, so again you can cause melt or you can freeze with water. I don't know what's happening to me, man. I'm just tired all of a sudden. I literally started this video and I was fine, and then it must be this music I'm playing in the background. It's just doing a number on me. But yeah, Diona, decent shield, decent healing. Um, Not known for her DPS unless you get maxed out constellations, but that's not really a thing with Diona. Not many people have constellations. Overall, I'd say she's better than Barbara, even with her heals. Um, because she has more to offer in the later game. And what it is that she has to offer is that she's good in Spiral because, again, she can apply cryo, and she can apply cryo to multiple enemies at once with the right timing of her elemental skill, and she creates a shield which again prevents you from taking damage or reduces damage if if it breaks in one hit, but you wouldn't take the full brunt of that attack. So reduces damage taken if you have her shield active. And she's 100% better than Barbara because she does more than just heal. She's able to consistently apply cryo for melt comps, and she's able to put up a shield. And this is what I think Barbara needs as a 4-star. Barbara needs just more than heals. She can't just be healing and nothing else. Almost every healer in the game has like a second utility in their kit that does more for the team, but Barbara doesn't. Hence why I've given her C rank. So I'm going to put her in the B rank, and I'm going to put Diona slightly above Chongyun. I think I've got some infectious like yawning syndrome. What is wrong with me? I was not tired like a couple seconds ago. Well, a couple minutes ago. Alright, official. Right. What you need to know, guys. Guys, you need to know. You need to know. Fischl is one of my all-time favorite characters. Please, no one disrespect Fischl. Please, no one have a bad word about Fischl because me and you are gonna fight. I'm gonna have it out for you. You can't get onto Fischl. Fischl is top tier. Fischl is amazing. When she first came out, a lot of people used to say that she was S tier. She got moved down as more characters got released and people figured out gameplay and play styles. But I think she's amazing. Oz is phenomenal. I don't even have to go anywhere. I don't have to go further than Oz. All I have to do is just say Oz. But when Oz comes out, you summon him. The AoE electro damage he does is insane. It's like 12k with a very weak Fischl, not very heavily invested Fischl. That is crazy. And then the damage he does like every second is like is crazy. And then if you have constellations on Fischl, the elemental burst, midnight was it Fantasia, whatever it's called, heals Fischl for 20% of her max HP, so she can self heal. She's a good early game, late game. You can build her as a physical build, or you can build her as a electro support. Like she has so many different ways you could build her, and I just think she's a great character. Um, and for that reason, she's going in A tier. She's going in A tier, right next to Alberto because these two make a great combo. And then we got Ganyu. Oops, Ganyu, one of the more recently released characters. Last character that was released in 1.2, right at the back end of 1.2. Now Ganyu, built correctly, 4-piece Wondrous Troupe or 2-piece Blizzard with 2-piece Gladiators, built correctly with the right artifacts and the right substats, with the right weapon, can be absolutely broken. So broken that she's able to just one-shot enemies without hesitation. And it's not just one enemy, a cluster of enemies, because the AoE spread on her Frost Arrow, her charge attack times 2, is so outrageous. It's I can't words can't put I can't put into description from words alone just how broken that is. I'm actually disgusted at how strong she is. She literally breaks the game, and people are getting frustrated that they don't have her and they wish that they got her. And why would they release such a character? Because now you're gonna have to try and keep up that level of power creep, because you can't have your other characters underwhelming to a character that came out weeks and months ago. It would generally be a shambles. But because she's so great, she can even run a support role with her element of skill, able to taunt enemies, and then switch into her elemental burst, which has a wide cryo AoE circle, and will buff cryo damage from anyone standing inside that circle. It will buff cryo damage. So she's a great user, and she's not just S tier, but she is a double S tier, a new ranking that I have given this, because I think that there are some characters that are just above S tier. Like you can't put her on the same boat as Bennett. You can't put her on the same boat as Dilute. Dilute does like 20k per hit, and she's doing like close to 100k per hit. You cannot put her in the same boat as anyone else. So she gets her own category all the way up in double S tier. Um, what I'm gonna do, guys, is because this is we'll see how long we're on the video. Yeah, this is getting to be a little bit lengthy, and I don't want the video to be too long and deter people away. So I'm gonna save it here. We're gonna say this is part 1, and I'm gonna do a second part, and hopefully I just jump straight into it, and we can try and get through the rest of the characters in part 2. I don't really want to spread this through to 3 parts. Um, I will release part 2 the next day, so I'll do part 2 tomorrow. As you can tell, I'm yawning, struggling to keep my head up. I don't know why. It's like I've been like poisoned, or my drink's been spiked, and I'm just dropping asleep and yawning. Like I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we're gonna call it there. Part 1. Let me know what you guys think. Ganyu goes into double S tier. Are you agreeing with everything I'm saying so far? Main character and Barbara, are they all the way down in C tier? Let me know your thoughts, guys, and if you're agreeing with what I'm saying so far. But I will see you in the next video. Hopefully it's the last one, part 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and get some rest now, because I'm knackered and I've been playing this game for hours on end and I'm just not resting enough. So I'm going to go and rest now, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace and thanks for watching, guys. I love the support. Remember, hit the like and subscribe.